Welcome back to What Would You Ask podcast. My next guest, I often say how much I deliver for you guys, but I went out and got a star. I mean, I got a celebrity. Not only is she an entrepreneur and, got on the tank, but she was season 4 Food Network Cupcake Wars. I think she was the winner. Weren't you the winner, Heather?
I was.
I mean, she went out and won the darn thing. And since then, she's just blown up. She's got cookbooks everywhere, and she's got these, the Dollop Gourmet. I mean, it doesn't imagine the amount of money that rolls up in the U-Haul in front of Heather's house. Just dumps it all in the front of the yard. You know what I mean? And she's like, could someone help? Could you get the bags and get the cash before it blows all off front lawn? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I wish that was true.
She appeared on the ABC hit show Shark Tank Season 7, Episode 27. Thank you for the episode, because we'll know now right where to go to find Heather. If we didn't have that episode, it wouldn't be good. Nationally renowned, like the frosting queen, right? And now she's got this, Dollop Gourmet thing and the all natural. She's going to talk more about it, but it's non-GMO, right? Non-dairy. Is it gluten organic? I don't know if it's organic.
It's non-GMO. It's not
non-GMO.
Organic.
Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure I'm right here with all the things. Anyway, it's with great pleasure that Heather Saffer, welcome to What Would You Ask podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about, because I did an awful choppy job talking about Dollop Gourmet. Tell us a little bit about how you started that and how it came to get on the tank.
Well, I used to have a bakery, and it was a create your own bakery. I developed this concept where people would come in and pick a cake flavor, filling, frosting, and topping, and we'd make their cupcakes on the spot. And so it was fun for a while. And then after I won Cupcake Wars, business was amazing. There were lines around the block. And then I started to hate life, and I felt really stuck. I don't joke.
I didn't expect that. Oh my God. You guys listening, I just had to take a sip of water, and I didn't expect to hate life, but go ahead. Sorry.
I did. I'm just an honest person. I started to hate life, and I felt really stuck and trapped in the bakery. And so I started thinking, what can I create that could be in stores all over the place, so I don't have to be standing in this 600 square foot bakery every single day. And I thought, people loved our frosting. I loved my frosting. And how could I develop and package that frosting and get it into grocery stores and get out of this bakery business? So that's kind of how it developed.
So what's the timeline from that development to Shark Tank? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 6 months? What time frame?
The time frame from when I first got the product into grocery stores to airing on Shark Tank was about a year and a half.
Got it.
So, and I filmed it in advance. So it was about 8 months from getting into stores to filming Shark Tank.
So let's talk a little bit about your experience on the tank. Alyssa from Boston wants to know, how difficult was your audition process? How many times did you apply? And was it as grueling as we hear?
It was definitely as grueling as you hear. It was a very long audition process, many steps, lots of filming yourself and sending it to the producers. And the most stressful part was never knowing if you were going to get on or not. And there was, I was supposed to film in June when they decided they were going to have me film. And the day before that they were supposed to send me the plane tickets, the producer called me and said that they weren't going to be sending me the plane tickets and I could try again for filming in September. So, yeah, so even though you thought you were kind of a shoo-in and you were on your way there, anything could happen at any moment that would stop the process for you. That was the stressful part.
Yeah, hence that's probably why they end every phone call or in every interaction with you with saying it doesn't guarantee you're going to be on the show, right? I mean,
it really doesn't guarantee. Yeah,
right. I mean, that's they make sure that that's clear. I was even told that some of the people that when they walk out of the tank, like their producers that they were assigned through the audition process, or they're saying, "Oh my God," high five and saying, "You did a great job, no matter what happened, deal or no deal," and they pump them up, and then they say, "That doesn't guarantee you're going to be on the air. I mean, doesn't mean it'll be filming. It's like they want to always put that in there."
Yeah, some people do film and their episode doesn't air.
Right.
And some people get to filming. There was a guy that was filming when I was filming, and they run out of time. And so he didn't, he's waiting in his green room to film, and they run out of time and they send him home. So just because you're even there ready to film doesn't mean you're going to film.
So you get through the audition process, you go through all that, the paperwork and the application and the financials and the legal and all of that stuff. You do all with the producers, your video and redo, and they're giving you notes and all that. You get to the green room in LA. Does Cupcake Wars help you in this production of being on Shark Tank, and from a nerve standpoint, from a preparation standpoint? Tell us about that.
I think it definitely helped me. One lesson I learned from being on Cupcake Wars is if you want to get on the show, listen to the producer because they're the decision maker. One of the decision makers. They're going to get you to the next level. And so they pretty much know what they want from you. They have these characters to fill. They have these spots to fill. So if you're just, arguing with them at every turn, then A, they're not going to want to work with you. And B, you're not going to fit in the slot that they need you to fit in. So they're going to find someone else. So, I learned from Cupcake Wars to really take what the producers are saying and filter it through and take a good listen, because the whole goal is to get on the show.
Nancy from Naples, Florida wants to know if there was any funny instances behind scenes during your time in the Shark Tank. On or off camera, if you put in parentheses, on or off camera.
Like with the sharks?
I think she means any time throughout the whole time in LA with production. Was there things going on? We hear people doing setup, have things happen. Like one, who was it? I forgot her name. It was food too. It might have been Kelsey with dope. Somebody said they were setting up, and Robert Hershevek walks right behind him, and while she was setting up her thing, and she was looking at it, and he said, "Looks good." And then she turned around, it was him, and she was like, "Oh my God." That was pretty funny because he was walking in. But anyway.
I mean, I didn't see any of them until I walked right out on the set. I mean, there were I don't know that there were funny things that happened. I found out that I kept asking if I was going where I was on the list, if I was last to film. I just had this feeling that I was last on the list, and they kept saying there wasn't going to be enough time for everyone. And so when I was in hair and makeup, I saw the list on the hairdresser's table, and I leaned over and I saw my name, and I said to her, I'm like, "That's the list, isn't it?" She said, "Well, don't pay attention to that." I said, "No, but that's the list, and I'm last on the list, aren't I? I see my name. I'm last on the list." No, don't pay attention to that. That's not for you to look at. And I went back to my green room, and then they sent my producer in to talk to me, and she said, "I heard someone told you that you were at the bottom of the list." And I said, and she said, who told you? I said, "I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I'm last on the list. You have to move me up. I can't be last on the list." Then they sent the psychologist in to talk to me. Because apparently you're really not supposed to know where you are on the list. But I do think that is what moved me up on the list, because I made this huge fuss about it. And then, like I said, the guy that they moved down below me, he didn't get to film. He went home.
That's a much better story than bumping into Robert Hershevek. No offense, Robert.
That kind of makes it my fault he went home, doesn't it?
It's a dog-eat-dog world. And he was wearing milk bone underwear, as they say on Cheers.
You have to advocate for yourself.
That's right. And you did a good job. I mean, they fired the hair and makeup lady too,
Probably.
but yeah. And that guy is, he's not doing it right. But anyway, did you find the psychiatrist? That's because we mentioned it. Because I know that when you're done, you see her as well, or he, whoever the psychiatrist is. But did you find that necessary, or did you find that as that's a value add, right? Because some people go out of there very stressed. They put their whole life, it's a lot of time, a lot of preparation time and you could be, 45 minutes, you're done, and boom, now it's a different world you're going back into.
I think maybe if you've never been on TV before and it didn't go so well for you, then seeing the psychologist could have been a benefit. But it wasn't a benefit to me because it went well for me.
Yeah.
And I had been on TV before, so I didn't really feel like I needed to talk to her.
So let's talk about what the Sharks felt from your presentation. You had some really good factors, and as you mentioned, you talked about the whole Wegmans deal. You were in, 85 Wegmans. I mean, that's a great store. Everybody loves Wegmans. I think you're in another one too, like a couple hundred stores in another one. You're getting into Whole Foods. Retail was, up and coming. So you had some, good stuff. Your margins were good. I think 40% margins. So and that's really where I've seen way too much Shark Tank. My wife can tell you that. But a lot of the sticking points are either you walk in there and whatever you have completely gets dismissed. I was watching the one where the guy you put a thing into your head, like you inject something. I was just watching. I don't know. He's not even coming on the show, but it just happened to be running on while I was, eating lunch. And you shoot something in your head, and it's a tracker. And these guys are like, what happens if do you do the battery? Do you have to have another surgery? And the guy's like, yeah, you actually do. And they're like, it was like season 1 or 2. Anyway, my point is that the numbers valuation is the numbers, not knowing cost of acquisition and lifetime value and blah, blah, blah. But it's also you not having if you go in there and said, I got, 18% margins, and they'd be like, what, in retail? Come on. All your numbers were good. That probably took away a lot of the, back and forth. Is that fair or no? Or did you still go through, they still grill you on your numbers?
They did grill me on my numbers. I think a lot of that was cut out because I was in there for about 45 minutes, I think. So there was definitely a lot that was cut out, but it was always amicable. Like they never, I don't know if I just lucked out, but they never, even though they questioned me about my numbers, they never, accused me of anything or became really critical or brash. So I think a lot of it is about being confident and not cocky, and showing some humility though as well. And just I didn't, banter with them. I didn't go back and forth.
Right.
I let them argue amongst each other.
Right.
While I listened.
Yeah. You answered questions. You didn't editorialize. Nick from Charlotte, North Carolina. What a great name, by the way. He has a 2-part question. He asks, and this is directly to you. He says, Heather, did you get a sense that the Sharks liked you? It was pretty obvious to me. And then secondarily, he says, B, did you have your eyes on a certain shark to close a deal?
Thank you, Nick. Yes, I did get a sense that they liked me, and I was very appreciative of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And I did have my eyes on Barbara. Now, I will say, if I knew then what I know now, never mind. I was going to say I would have gone with Kevin, but his deal was real shit, so... So never mind.
What was attractive about Kevin's deal was the wicked good cupcakes ladies, Tracy and her daughter and all that stuff. Just not that you even have to. I just think that the fact, I don't think there's any connection necessarily, but I just think that him going through that experience of working with them may have been similar because they love him. I've talked to Tracy; they love him. And they think he's, from what I've heard, at least unless they're fibbing to me. Did that attract you at all or no?
That was the unattractive part, to be
Really?
honest.
Interesting.
Just because I've met them and
Yeah.
I couldn't see them going for it. Like
Got
I
it.
didn't think that they would ever agree to. They're not really into co-branding,
Yep.
um, and partnering of sorts. At least it doesn't seem to me. I've never seen them do that before. When I've talked to them, they haven't really seemed keen on that. So I didn't. I felt like if I had made that deal, they would have put the kibosh on it. Like I don't think it would have gone anywhere. So that's why it was unattractive to me.
So it wasn't well, and you didn't like the third, 33% and a third, right? You didn't want that. That was a little high for you too, right?
That was high, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you end up getting a deal with Barbara, and that was 75 for 25, which is not really far off. Didn't you come in for 75 for 20?
I did.
Yeah, that's a win. That's a win-win right there. Um, and you mentioned that deal didn't go through, but that happens a lot. Did you tell us a little bit about, and this is a question from Dale from West Virginia. He doesn't give us the town, just West Virginia, the entire state. Dale is all part. He wants to know, how would you rate your performance on Shark Tank? It's interesting, called it a performance, but anyway.
How would I rate my performance? I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That
I'm
sounds
serious.
so cocky, but I always say it couldn't have gone any better than it went.
Yeah.
There's nothing I would have changed,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, I agree with you. It's like, and I'm not kissing up to you, but um, it was like the template of how to handle them, because you're right. You weren't aggressive, but you also were stern enough to where you held your own, but you answered questions appropriately. You didn't get in debate. And any one of them, if they felt like you were fibbing, they don't want to hear about pie in the sky. If you came in and say, the market is $4 billion market, and if I get 2%, they hate that. They're like, everybody says that. You had numbers to back it up. You had, a plan going forward. You had distribution ideas. And I think also helped you was that, and Lori, I think, was, really impressed with the fact that you were the one who recognized you. Was it Lori that recognized you?
Yeah, Lori.
Yeah, she was saying that I knew I recognized you from that show. I think that gave you a little bit of instant credibility, right? Because then she knows, wait, didn't you do a cookbook too? And like, she got the fact that this isn't and not the knock, because there's a lot of housewives out there that go and do these things and create very successful businesses. Wicked Cupcakes is a perfect example, but you had the kind of the pedigree, or the resume anyway, to say, hey, listen, this isn't something I picked up, last Tuesday. I've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah, I think that probably definitely helped a bit. Um, and I mean, and I also went in knowing kind of parts of my story that I wanted to share. I knew I wanted to hit these key points. I knew that I didn't want to argue. I knew that I wanted to listen, and I knew that I wanted to counter an offer once. I didn't want to just take what was offered, but I didn't want to go back and forth numerous times. So I kind of had these bullet points that I had laid out that I knew I wanted to hit during the presentation, and so everything just lined up for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Did you have a number that you weren't going to exceed, from a percentage standpoint?
No, no, and honestly, I went into it more so not from the investment perspective, but from getting on the show and looking good, basically, like laying it out so that I came across the way I wanted to come across and not focused on the actual real investment at the end of it. Because I knew that could be negotiated, that could maybe not go through, maybe it wasn't going to be the right deal anyway. So as long as I came across the way I wanted to, that was what was most important to me.
Got it. So tell us about the Shark Tank effect. First of all, tell us how long it was when you got out of the Shark Tank to you aired. Was it significant, many, many months, or tell us a little bit about that?
It was, I filmed in September end of September, I believe, and I aired beginning of May.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and I didn't find out I was going to air until the I want to say the end of February, or it might have been March.
And did you kind of blow it off from September to February, or did you hear that in the past that some people don't find out for many months? Because that's kind of what everybody says too. Is I didn't
I
hear for 5 months.
I mean, I didn't really tell anyone
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they're
that's
not
true.
supposed
That's
to.
right. That's right.
But did I blow it off? I mean, it was hard. It was a strenuous few months because you can't bank your whole business on it because you might not be airing,
That's right.
but it's always in the back of your mind.
Right.
So you're trying to continue with business like it might not happen, but also continue with business like it might happen. So you're just straddling this line for a while.
So when it finally May comes and you're airing, you're airing, you're told your friends, your family, are we having a big viewing party, or are we batting down the hatches, getting ready for the Shark Tank effect to
No,
happen?
I had a party. I had a party at Wegmans actually in one of their party rooms at their big store.
Nice.
Uh, so it was fun. The news came. Yeah, it was a good time.
That's cool. And what was the effect of all the sales was there more contacts than sales? Was there a bunch of both, emails and phones ringing and orders on the website? Tell us about that experience.
It was a bunch of both emails, congratulatory emails. I saw you on Shark Tank, contacts, stores interested in the product, and then a lot of sales. So it was a whole mix. I mean, I don't remember how many emails, but there were a ton of emails.
Yeah. Does that something that lasts, Heather, over, it's not just 24 hours, right? It's kind of like a week, and then it slows down a little bit, but then it's into the second week. It kind of tails off, but it's a few weeks, right?
It definitely tails off. It is a few weeks, and then for me, what happened was uh, as it started to tail off and we had almost finished shipping all of our orders, which was probably like 5 weeks later, there was a Forbes article that was written about me that hit the main page on Yahoo. And the orders just started. I got just as many orders from that as from
Wow.
Shark Tank. So, I was packing up orders with my parents who are divorced. And so it was the two of them and me in this warehouse that I was using. And we're just about finished packing everything up from Shark Tank and like about to celebrate our completion when my phone starts dinging with this Forbes article
Oh,
that just went viral, and all the orders start flying in. So we were sitting there like, oh my gosh, well, we better get back to packing. And it was about another 5 weeks of packing after that.
oh, did your parents look at each other like, oh, Mom, we got to spend another 5 weeks together?
Yes.
Oh, geez. That's unbelievable. And then the reruns, do they still give you a ding in business when they're on CNBC, every once in a while?
A bit.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot. I'd say, I don't know, less than 100 orders each time.
I have a note that was passed to me right before we started about a Canadian company acquisition.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about what happened with that.
So I decided that I wanted to sell the business, and this Canadian company that had been following my story for a while reached out, and they've been making icings for 4 decades. So it took some time, but we finally reached a deal, and so they're working through taking over production and bringing it in-house now instead of using the co-packer.
And what does that mean for you? On to the next journey? Or are you going to stay with the company for a while, or what's the plan for you?
A bit of both. I'm helping with their social media and some consulting stuff for them. And then I'm exploring other avenues for myself. So
That's really cool. Is that a sad thing for you for what you created? No, not at all. You're done with it. Do you just is that your makeup that you have to be challenged again? Is that like kind of who you are? You win, Cake Cup Wars or whatever it's called, and then you come and do this and you're successful here. You go in the tank and get a deal. I was impressed by Edna Mott was on here. She did the bare ease where you numb the
Yeah.
groin area, and she's talking to me. We're talking about. She called me to set up the interview, and she wanted to talk to me, the person that hosts the show, and just about questions. And so we were having a conversation, and then she said, "What other series do you do?" And I said, "We do a Survivor series, and we've done Amazing Race, and stuff like that. Or they're in process right now." And she goes, "Oh, well, I was in South Pacific season 22,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "What?" She has that makeup too. Like it's another. What's next? Like if I won Cupcake Wars, I would have one of those planes fly around constantly. I know they're expensive, but I take out loans and just have it keep flying around my house and with an arrow going, "Do you know that Nick just won?" And then people be like, "You're 45 and you won that when you're 30." But anyway, that's who you kind of, and then you go to Tank and you do and go get the deal and get signed. And now we sell the company and now we're on to the next thing. That's who you are, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the excitement of challenging things. I had this idea I wanted to write a cookbook, and I wouldn't kind of settle until I got a book deal with a big publisher, and then I wanted another book deal, and then I kind of got that out of my system. So, and I do like exciting things, but it's kind of tough. It's also tough when you've accomplished these things that you've set your mind on, and then now I'm kind of like, well, I've accomplished all these things that I wanted to do. I'm having a hard time thinking of something I want to accomplish next. So I don't know, maybe you've got some good ideas for me.
I'll share them with you if I don't have anything this second because I just found out about that. But I'm sure you're going to be successful because people don't have the resume that you do with being an author and winning, shows and then winning again and another show. It's just like, and these aren't reality. This isn't Kardashians or Jersey Shore. These are real competitions that you have to be the real deal to win, right? In both of these cases. And you got that done. So I imagine wherever you're going, you're going to be successful in it. And that's pretty cool. What happens in the next 6 months? Like, are you thinking, well, I still got stuff for the company that I'm going to be tied up with that, and I can have that time to also start looking about what's on my roadmap going forward? Does it give you that runway to be able to do that a little bit? Or is it a drop dead date where you just, stop working with Dollop?
No, it's very flexible. I've become, pretty good friends with the new owner. I invited him and his wife to my wedding.
Nice.
So it's very kind of fluid.
Cool.
But I also have a lot of time on my hands. So I've been doing a lot of artwork and helping to raise money for animal rescues and just kind of exploring what my next career move is, because I do have plenty of time.
I'm going to tell you one thing I think you'd be good at.
Yes, I'm listening.
Doing this. Have your own podcast. You can give so much advice with your experience. Think about it for a second, because from what it meant in the tank and what you had to go through in the due diligence and what you had to go through prior and building a business, that's invaluable stuff and successful business that ends up getting acquired. Then you have the whole, I don't want to say reality show, but you know what I mean with the Food Network stuff. And you go on to be champion there. You've wrote books with major publishers. And you wouldn't take Sam's Publishing down the road. You have to go and get the ones in Manhattan, because that's the only ones that matter to you. That's all. How do you get, people want to know, what's that step? What's that guide to, how do you do that? You have one of these. Nobody cares. Nobody calls up and asks me that. Hey, Nick, I was wondering,
I will tell you, Nick, I did create a podcast and then I got bored with it.
Oh God. Why did I know she was going to say that?
And I stopped doing it. I was like, I don't want to listen to myself talk every day.
I think that's kind of me. There's nobody over here either. I'm just talking to myself.
I know your secret.
That's what happens when you talk so much that you have to just start pretending you have people over the side.
Hey, Sally, what do you think?
So really, you just got bored and you say, that's it. Well, Listen, I'm going to come up with some ideas for you. I'm going to stay in touch and I'm going to give you some ideas, because what you've gone through and the success you've had, that has to be shared somehow. I don't know if you need to write another book, which I know you don't want to do right now. So I don't, you've done that already twice or 3 times or whatever you've done. Listen, It's been awesome visiting with you. I'm so happy that you came on, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Good. I'm glad. We're going to be back with more What Would You Ask podcast in a minute. Stay with us.